my character was the one character everybody was scared of, because it's definitely going to be the most scrutinized, you know.
Do you guys remember any behind the scenes moment while you were shooting, like in the Joburg winter with your...
Oh my God.
I remember there was one night, I can't get into too much details around the scene because it hasn't played out on screen. As Shaka, he had just finished conquering this particular village, and so he may or may not have set them on fire. And in that moment, we obviously have to have real fires for the cameras or whatever. For the drama of the scene, we stood so far from it, and I was so sad because I was freezing. I just wanted to be closer, so I'm trying to justify. I'm like, no, but...
what was your approach to balancing the different aspects that come with playing Liyanda?
Having to then find a way to not portray her as a rude character, but rather a, like you said,
she's calming, she's there to calm Shaka down.
I'm a performer and a model, but most importantly, a storyteller. That's what that whole intro video was all about. I would always wake up and just wish that I would be Miss South Africa. But in 2025, I realized actually, I'm a woman who's stepping into her purpose again. And some people are like, but she's only chasing fame because of the paparazzi. The paparazzi was not the fame. I'm sorry to bring this up, but some people are like, I'm using Cwekwe's name. I'm like, I'm not using Cwekwe's name.
Welcome to another episode of Sunday World Engage. My name is Luyanda Zuma and I'm an entertainment journalist. Today we have two interesting guests. We have Lemogang Tsipa and Luyanda Zuma, who are joining us today to speak about the ongoing Shaka iLembe season 2 and the role that they are playing. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, if you guys could please just introduce yourself to anyone who doesn't know you or still wants to get to know you.
Ladies first. Ladies first.
So igama Luyanda Zuma, and I play the character of Liyana on Shaka iLembe season 2. Some may be familiar with me from Miss South Africa. Some have seen me on their shows as well, screens on some of the shows that I've done on Mzansi Magic and Showmax.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Lemogang Tsipa. I am an actor / musician. People mostly know me for my acting. I've done a few shows here and there, some SABC, some multi-choice, some Netflix, whatever. Been doing this for a little while.
What is a little while?
Probably like 14, 15 years.
Sure.
I am most.
And I mean, I started knowing him when he played Bambata on.
You're a premium subscriber. That's why. Other people don't watch free-to-air TV, but...
Maybe 14 years of experience, that's not very.
Yeah. So guys, since Shaka iLembe started, it's been trending, So how does it feel for you guys to be part of such a big production, especially also with the pressures that come with how you guys, portray the actual story? So how does it feel for you guys to be part of such a huge production?
Oh my gosh, firstly, I'm not that in tune with my socials. So I think that's what's the guy trend. But obviously I think with the type of hype that is around the show, not only does it put pressure on you to want to then step into such a phenomenal show from season 1 into season 2. We've got something that we need to actually jump on as the new cast members to keep the momentum going. So yes, it did come with a lot of pressure, but I think on its own, knowing that I'm going to be one of the people that will be writing in the books of history in terms of telling such a powerful story on its own, I think is what makes it such unrealistic thing for me, if I may say. But I'm more, I mean, 14 years of experience. I mean, I just stepped into the industry. So yes, it's really overwhelming. But at the same time, I'm more honored, more than scared. And yeah.
Yeah, I think the 14 years of experience doesn't help. I think it's such a monumental piece of history because it's a piece of history which is on everybody's lips now. It's especially for in my position playing the king himself. It's something which I faced criticism before people saw me. That's how big of a deal it is.
Because
Like,
of your name and surname, and people
regardless, even
saying,
if I was Upilani Dlamini, it's late,
but at least Philani Dlamini, you have an idea that this person speaks isiZulu.
Mama, this is Shaka. It's
Ma'am.
Sisi, yep, Olisi, Sisi. It's one of those things where even when we had a conversation with the co-stars that ended up landing some of the roles, and even in the audition process, my character was the one character everybody was scared of because it's definitely going to be the most scrutinized. And I think shout out to Mr. Henry Glitter who did the first one. I think he set the bar so high that everybody was, imagined Shaka to be exactly what he portrayed. So yeah, there's a tremendous amount of pressure in getting it right. Obviously, my name and surname adds to that pressure. It gives people kind of stones that they can physically hold and begin throwing. But even besides that, I think what he represents, for the entire Zulu people is something which is, I think, the most impactful thing in that culture till this date. He was able to create this tribe whose legacy lives on to this day. I think it's the biggest tribe in Southern Africa, and that's a pretty big deal. And to play the guy who was the most instrumental founder of that thing is
Did you
scary.
intentionally audition for that role specifically?
I mean, ideally, definitely, but the way Bomb does auditions, they just give us general kind of, everybody reads the same text. So whether you're old or young, whatever, like the guys will have one text, the girls will have another. And then through their kind of imagination and seeing where you lean towards, then as the audition process proceeds, they kind of categorize you guys into different things. So I ended up, in the back of my mind, obviously I wanted particularly this role, but it's also such a big production, and every role is so important that, if I was anybody else, I'd have been equally as happy. Yeah.
Okay. And then you also mentioned that it playing the role of Ushaka obviously required you to go through physical and emotional, work to embody the role. How was that? And the constant gym, maybe you're losing weight, gaining weight for different seasons. Like, how did you tackle that?
Yeah, so in season 1 was the hardest because we were kind of confirmed a couple of months before the shoot began. So I got into my gym mode, and obviously I've got a poster of Henry on my wall. I'm working out. I got pretty buff, and a few weeks before the shoot, because in one there's two sides to the story. There's him as a teenager, and he grows up and turns. I think he starts when my version of it starts. He starts about 16, 17. Then it jumps to when he's about 21. Then it jumps to at the end where he's about 28. So he's definitely got an arc physically, and you've seen like with boys, you kind of change over time. So I was ready with the 28-year-old version because for me it's easy to lose weight. So I thought, okay, let's do all the buff stuff first. I'll get off for a few weeks, lose some weight, come back, do all the childhood. No, they switched it. So now I'm stuck with all this muscle that I have to lose in a couple of weeks, which, fortunately I did, but the starvation process is pretty taxing and tough. And in that time, we're doing all the fight choreography, all the stunt training, all the different things. So I was very, very drained, eating about one meal a day. And then halfway through the shoot, they're like, okay, we're gonna just need you to look like how you did before. So I also had a few weeks then again to kind of bulk up again, which, is tremendously tough. And 2 was a lot better because I just had to just progress from where we left it off in one. So I just did the two things I enjoy, eating and gymming. So it was pretty much easy, much easier on the second one.
And now I hear you at gym. Now do you have to gain or what? Do you have to
No,
look
I'm
older?
gymming, but I can't confirm or deny for what. But I am gymming, and I am in tremendous pain. Like I'm not sure if you saw me walking. I walked like a robot. Last week I couldn't use my arms. This week it's my legs. So yeah, I'm sacrificing my body for the greater good.
All right. And then to you, Luyanda, you've mentioned that during the audition process, you went through 7 callbacks.
Roughly.
Yeah. So how was that? Like, take us through that experience.
Oh my gosh, I think it was the most taxing audition process of my whole entire career. No matter what career, I mean, I know 14 years, but oh my goodness. It was actually yeah, my first audition was in Market Theatre. Now I'm just a new kid on the block. Okay, they've been in the industry for quite some time. Why do I think I'm gonna get this? Right? And the thing is, that same morning, that woman actually just script because I wanted to then read a different script the night before. I was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna be this young lady. But I also did not understand the script. Like Lemo said, we just get a generic script, but Leia was not connecting with me. So then I learned a different one. Go 5 in my auditions at 9. I don't know why I did that, guys. Literally got into the room or got to Market Theatre and I'm sitting there. I am waiting, but now I'm trying to read my lines and remember them. Athi ubhuti lo hlele eceleni kwami, hayi sisibona namanje owazi uvela ukhohle. Yo guys. My heart sank. I was like, yeah, I know. Alright, uqinisile lo muntu. And then my one lady came out. She was shaking and scared, right? So now I'm walking in there. Okay, there's Zeno and baningi abantu abahleli lapha. Now I'm like, okay, cool. The first line engiyikhumbulayo was ngenzeka ungibone njenganisitha ku, and then I went blank. Yo guys, I literally blanked out. I don't know what I had to do after that. I asked to start again, and then that's when I got it done. But now, because I'm nervous, I'm just trying to remember my lines. I did the whole audition with my arms folded. Literally no movement whatsoever. I just spoke into the camera because I'm just trying to get the lines out. I told my agent, I'm like, girl, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I don't think we'll get this. Right? She's like, no, man, I'm sure you did well, my angel. I'm like, no. Don't worry about it. I've already made peace with it, but I'm not going to get it. So I'm sitting at home just thinking, man, it's fine. My first callback comes in and like, what? Me? No ways. Can't be. I got there, it's the first callback. Okay, cool. I think there's about 20 of us, if I'm not mistaken, or around there. Got it done, left. Second callback, I'm still in my clothes. Got that done. But now, the third callback was when I met you.
I remember that was our first one, so I don't know if it was your third, but we met at some point, yes.
But okay, before meeting him, I remember I did an audition, and then my friend calls me. She's like, friend, she's from Durban, but also, I think she went to a private school. So, it's really, really prim and proper, but this Zulu Sak is not that strong. All right. So she called me, she's like, friend, I need your help. My agent sent me a script, and I'm thinking to myself, it's for something else, definitely not Shaka. And then she sends me the script, guys, my heart, I was like, anxiety, because now already Bomb has been quiet for quite some time. Now somebody else is coming with the same script that I was reading. So I thought, no ways, it's not mine, it's okay. I tried to help with the script. She's like, actually, no, friend, I don't think I want to do it. And then maybe 2 days after that, I got a call for my next callback. That's when I met this gentleman. And then we did our chemistry test. I was like, okay, cool. I got this one, right? I got this one in the bag. No, Bomb went quiet again. They went quiet again. And then that's when another friend of mine calls me. She's like, I got a friend from someone who's in the casting department at BOM. They're looking for girls. I think you should try out. I'm like, oh, what? But I've already been there 5 times. There's nothing else for me to do now, you know? So by that point, I'd already given up on the whole thing. I was like, okay, if it's not mine, it's not going to be mine. So I think I spent about maybe 3 days not eating because of the stress. And within that process, ngiyatandaza, and I'm also talking to my ancestors. I'm like, no, good say and ngifuna ukuthi kube yimina ozokhuluma le story kuzoyenzeka. La ngampela-ke, that's when I got my next call back. Now I was with the Temkos. Got that one done, and then kwahlala kwathuleka mhlambe kwadlula elinye iviki, if I'm not mistaken. But okay, we're so sorry, we just need you to come in one more time. And feel like there's somebody who's really, really prominent in the industry sitting. I'm like, aye, guys, why would you take me and leave her? You know? And then yeah, it happened. But throughout the whole entire process, I think at some point faith left me. But the courage of knowing that it's such a spiritual show, I'll be there. But yeah, it was really stressful, but great, but stressful.
You're 7 times your patient.
Maybe 7.
No, it's definitely possible. I mean, I was in 1 and 2. I was a large part of the audition process, more so in 2 because I had to chemistry with different, characters
So
and all
had
the new people.
They had
So
to
I
try
auditioned
different
as much as
ladies.
her, I mean, not just ladies, all the other the new characters that kind of interact with Shaka as well. So I was also there about 7 plus times.
They're very particular with what they want, They'll go in depth with making sure that you fit the story, because they'll put you in a costume and then they'll change you and put you in another costume just for them to really understand. So I'm not even like trying to scare anyone with the 7 callbacks. Literally, guys, if a show is that grand and of that scale and they strive for perfection, best believe and just do
Yeah, and I think to add to that, it's also it's more than a decision of one person, because there is definitely the team at BOM, but Mzansi Magic's also invested a lot of money into it. So you kind of have to satisfy everybody who's got vested interest inside it. So I think that's one of the reasons. I'm sure somebody was pushing for the prominent person, somebody else is pushing for somebody else, somebody's pushing for a new face, and then all 3 of them have to come to a conclusion. So you'll keep repeating the process until they come to a good consensus.
Okay, so let's talk about your on-screen chemistry. Clearly, from that callback, you did well. So we see that Liyana is going to bring a softer side to Shaka.
Does she?
Apparently, allegedly. Allegedly. So how did you guys work together, to build that chemistry for us to see when we are watching as the viewers? Also, I'm sure it must have been, tough for you. So are you going to be a love interest of a ruthless man?
Imagine, oh my gosh, not just a ruthless man, but number 1, we call shit, guys. What do you mean? Firstly, he's such a prominent figure, and number 1, we call shit, you understand? I think it was pretty easy for us, right?
Yeah. No, I was going to say, for me, chemistry is like, organic friendships. It's something that you can't fake. I don't think you can really create it. You can improve it, but it's either there or it's not there, and it's like, sometimes you walk into a room, you can have a fat chat with a stranger. That's the sign of a type of chemistry. And I think Luyanda and I just had that kind of vibe. Because I remember even in between the scenes, we'd be joking around, talking, she'd tell me how nervous she is, whatever. And we'd just laugh it out. And, there were other people that we did audition with, and then when they call card, it's just an awkward silence, and you're standing there. And I'm trying to, obviously being the person knowing that, okay, cool, I've got the job, I'm inside, trying to help this person relax, and I can see they have this kind of gated area. But she wasn't any of that. So I think the chemistry is just kind of natural. It progresses obviously through time, and the better you get to know somebody, you understand who they are, their vibes, their style of humor, all of that kind of stuff. And I think it's just a natural, organic evolution. It's not like we sat and were like, okay, on Wednesday, want to go to Tasha's and, you know what I mean? No, I think, yeah.
I think also I was going through my gallery and I came across our callback edition. This man was standing behind me and making funny faces. I'm like, okay, cool. Okay, he's vibing with me, you know. So just before we even got into the edition room already, we say right, we comfortable around each other. I remember even with the scene that we did, I had to be very up and personal with him. And I took it there. I was like, yeah, I don't mind. Because he didn't actually come across as someone who's perverted, because obviously with the callback, but he didn't seem to be looking
I was
at me
about
with
to
that
ask
eye.
you about that. Like, how do you deal with such? Because obviously everyone's like half naked.
Ay, bongum Zulu mina. Oh.
Yes, but not everyone understands. You know, there are people who say, yo, watching Shaka feels like I'm watching porn. Next thing we're fighting, people are getting stabbed. It's like going from this to that.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a cultural nuance, which if you weren't born in and around, it's gonna kind of have a knee-jerk feel, you know. But for most of us that grew up around KZN and abantu Makaya, you're so used to it. It's like boobs are boobs, dog. It's not that deep. But like to other people, it's like, oh, it's like, oh, what's happening? You know.
Okay. And then for you grew up in KZN, right? And you've said that playing Shaka felt like a calling. Why do you say that?
I mean, it definitely is, because I think there's a lot of interesting parallels between his life and mine. When I see like how my parents left from home and I got raised in this place, kind of was synonymous with the Kwabe thing, and then we moved from Medlangezo, which was like, you know, it was moving from Mamtetwa to, or, you know, a lot of these different parallels in his narrative I found in my life. But also just being a child born and raised there, Shaka is the epitome of what it means to be a king. He is a real life superhero that, you know, did walk where you walked, you know. So I think every kid in KZN, or every boy child at least, kind of at the back of their mind somewhere, you imagine yourself as, you know, as that guy in either in Mendlala or whatever. So I think it was definitely a dream, and the very fact that my Pedi and Tuana parents were very, I don't know, I think their move to KZN was very spiritually influenced, because there was a stage where they tried to move back to Koli, and Koli, nothing was working. So for them to kind of be compelled to be raised there, I think really molded me and helped me play this role. Because if I grew up in Pretoria, I guarantee you, my acting chops would have not helped me in this role. So yeah, I think it was a calling in that sense, that, you know, all the stars from before I was born kind of aligned and helped me.
So have you guys like moved back this side, or?
We can't. I'm the only one, and it's just because of work. My heart is still back there. If the industry was as alive that side as it is here, I don't think I'd be living in Joburg. It's just not as nice, you know. Like, I grew up with a mango tree here that you don't water. It's just got mangoes. There's bananas there. You know what I mean? That's just the vibe back home.
Okay, so Liyana is described as a naive girl, but I saw she's kind of cheeky.
Oh my gosh, she is. I was like, girl, shut up.
Intibane. Calling another guy Intibane is not. It's not the one. So, what was your approach to balancing the different aspects that come with playing Liyana, and also the type of character that she is?
I think even when I was watching the first 2 seasons, I was just sitting there like, girl, you talk too much. Like, just shut up. Because what do you mean, firstly? And what do you mean you're going to call someone's son Intibane? Like, you know? So I think even when I was just reading the script on its own, having to then find a way to not portray her as a rude character, but rather a, like you said, cute as.
She's uyapapa, but also she's she's calming. She's there to calm Shaka down.
Okay, well, I think for me, the chemistry that we have, right, on set is what made that easier. Because vele mina ngendlela engikhule ngayo, I grew up in a very traditional household, so my mom was always submissive, but in a good way. But however, she's a very powerful woman at the same time. Ngeke uzumtshela ukuthi enze ukuthi mase uzokwenza uma ukuthi akakuzwa lokho. So she's very much feisty, but when it comes to my dad, uyakwazi ukuzithoba. So nothing nakhona with him, it's like, yes, with my friends, I can be talking and doing whatever, but when I look at him in the eyes, like, oh, damn. Because you saw good when she was talking to her face, she was really confident. But the minute that she turned, she was like, oh, actually, no. So I think just that dynamic between understanding what it means to be a woman of that day and age and understanding how much females were needed to be respectful and seen as a certain figure, then having to tap into that while then keeping my upbringing within me, I think is what helped me find that balance. Yeah.
Okay, so for the both of you guys, I know shooting was a bit challenging, shooting in winter. Silele nina niyashoot.
Ngiyabona bekhuluma nge-cold front kwabhala kwacisha kanjani ngasho ukuthi nina.
Do you guys remember any behind the scenes moment while you were shooting, like in the Joburg winter with yo? It can be a funny one. It can be, I don't know, a tough one. I thought I was going to freeze to death.
Oh my gosh.
We did freeze to death. I didn't think about it. No, I did. This is the Josie version of it. I remember there was one night, I can't get into too much details around the scene because it hasn't played out on screen. But as Shaka he had just finished conquering this particular village, and there were enemies that weren't very, he didn't really like them. I mean, other people, he'd conquer them in a nice way. Other people, he was a bit more strict. So this was the ones where he kind of was a bit more harsh. So he may or may not have set them on fire. I don't know. And in that moment, we obviously have to have real fires for the cameras or whatever, but for the drama of the scene, we stood so far from it, and I was so sad because I was freezing. I just wanted to be closer. So I'm trying to justify. I'm like, no, but in his mind, he's got so much rage, and the producers weren't having it, and we were freezing.
So you wanted to get close to the fire?
Oh, just to feel just a bit of life, And the thing about those scenes, I think it was a lot of people that were involved in that scene. So you have these massive wides, so perspective of distance gets a bit exaggerated. And yeah, we were very far. Very, very far from that fire.
I think for me, a lot of my scenes are with him, right? But the fire that we have is actually not real. It's real, but it's not real. Like artificial, like one of them she said. And I remember trying to ask them to bump it up. I'm like, guys, is there a way to get this to actually be hot or not? I think that's when I realized, yeah, no,
especially from you, like you from Miss SA, you look at people from Miss SA, they just like models, they are. And then now you out there in winter, shooting in the cold.
Yeah. Mind you, my attire is beads. When beads are cold and they're touching your skin at the same time, it's like, oh my goodness, and it's like action high.
And I think the advantage for us is we kind of had the experience of shooting on that location from season 1, so you know what you're getting into. But I know that feeling of when you see it for the first time, you don't understand. You're like, this is a prank. Multi-choice spend a lot of money to prank us. To just
But it's worth it. Trust me, it's so worth it. And I kind of see where we're shooting, it's high up. So once the time it's in Ambama, then the tides drop. One with yo. But it's also fun.
As long as you guys didn't die.
Man, we warmed up by the invoices. As long as at the end of the month something happens.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
So Shaka has been hailed like as a benchmark for African storytelling, right? What do you think makes this series, like, or should we call it a series or what, the story stand out, globally?
I think for me, I'll speak from a experience perspective because I've worked on quite a few things. I've worked on international productions. I've worked on various local productions, movies, TV series, telenovela, whatever. I've kind of covered.
14 years.
I've done one. No. I've kind of done one of each. In the space that we're in, if not a little bit more. But anyways, this was the first project that I found every department so passionate for. On other projects, you feel some people are there for the money, other people are there for the vibes, other people are just there because they don't want to be at home. But this is the one project where, through the long hours, through all the traveling, through all the sacrifice, everybody from background to catering to wardrobe to art department, camera, everybody was extremely passionate about this project, which I think you can kind of feel that thing. And also the fact that we're portraying kings and queens and just people, extraordinary people that walked the earth before us. I think that they definitely helped us carry an extra energy to just give it that push that it deserves.
I think in the same breath, that saying that says our story is told the right way. I think that's what makes this production very different. I think also then, like you said, Uguti, every single department literally is all hands on deck, even from the smallest thing, like team, because no one took me like they will be there to make sure that I leak. I think everyone was just so invested in the journey and the beauty of the story that it just had to make sense like that. And no one speaks about this as much as I think we do. The way that show is so spiritual. Simultaneously, I think when I was reading articles, there was another production that was being shot simultaneously to this one. But because I'm guessing then the stars are not aligning in terms of how that story was going to be told. But because this one is being told on our soil the right way with every single thing, like you said, costume, makeup, production, everything that just had to make the production actually what it is today was definitely paid attention to from even every single small detail. I think for me, that's what just makes it stand out. Even the care that comes. Your trailer's ready. Like, yes. Like, yeah. And then everything is really set, which means you don't have to stress. Right, I think that's the most important thing. If you want your performers to actually be able to perform, don't stress them out. All right, and if you don't stress them out, then they'll be able to deliver the story that they need to deliver. I think for me, the type of detail that was just paid attention to in terms of, okay, udlile, are you warm? Because we are shooting in winter, so our trailer always had a heater on. The ADs were also on their toes, right? Even there was a scene that I was shooting that I had to be on top of something, right? Our executive producer came on set and said, put her on a harness because he wanted to make sure that I see we like, you know what I mean? Like other people like, okay, because they want to get the scene across, but shoot, well, it's okay. Are you going to be fine to get up there? Okay, but like, your safety is important. So when you know that people who are actually behind the production care about you like that, then it's going to resonate on screen, and everyone who's happy around the set, and not because invoice.
Okay, so how do you guys think Ushaga is like influencing African storytelling around the world?
I think shout out to the lighting and camera team, because I think it's some of the most beautiful images to come from African cinema. And I think that's the difference between our medium and other mediums. Theater, it's the performers kind of shine, whatever. But, with TV, if you have TV and film, if you have a up camera team, you can perform your life away. You can have the best sound, you can have the best music, but the medium is conveyed through the picture. And I think those guys did a stellar job. Obviously in partnership with the costume departments and the art department, we're building real sets. Other productions will kind of take the cheap route and build one hut and green screen and then we just all shooting in the same house and they're finessing and they put it. But here, like you can literally walk in there and it's a functional village. I mean, if it had running water, we could move there now. And electricity type vibes, you know. So I think all of the elements, all of the teamwork was just, you know, executed on the highest level. They got some of the most competent, if not the most competent people in South Africa to really not just work, but be given a space and time to show off, you know, all the skills that they've acquired over the years. And yeah, I think that's the reason.
And then what about the 6,000 G strings that we
I am getting down.
But didn't you wear them?
Abanye bawagqokile. Cha.
Goga. The fact that everything is intact, you wore it.
No, mama, inkosi akhulunywa. Inkosi kanjalo. No, I mean obviously it was something which had to be done, and the series was definitely getting bigger. You'll see. I'm sure you've seen in some of the promo clips, but even some of the stuff that has come out, the army, for example, I'll speak from Shaka's perspective, is grown. You know, because when he takes over the Zulu tribe, it's about 600 to 700 people, and he grows it to. I mean, the nation now is at about 14 million, so he exponentially grows it, and we need people. We need bodies in those spaces, and all of them need underwear.
Yeah, but I think also it's just a hygienic element of it, right? I think that's an issue with angeke uze ufuna ukurepeata into ngazuthi bekwe yakho yini, right?
Yes.
So I think them also just paying that much attention to making sure that even in terms of our hygiene and our health is actually taken care of, because so I think that's where the 6,000 G strings also came across, because Nami at first about okay, I got it G string missing in Hambies. What if in Korea you know? I'm like no. And then every time I got a new packet, I was like, oh, okay, they actually did make a lot of them, you know what I mean? So yeah, I think in JB hygiene as well, to just make sure that we are safe and nothing is, you know, being interfered with down there.
Down there.
Don't want those problems.
Okay, Luyanda, how has playing Liyana impacted like you personally, and the relationship maybe that you have with Lemogang, or like her impact influenced you also, or changed you, and how has Shaka's story like literally like shaped you as a young woman?
As a young woman in real life, or in terms of the story?
In real life.
In real life. Sheesh. Ngizoqala kuphi? That's a tricky one.
It's a deep question.
And okay, let's start with the gent. For you, as a how has Shaka?
It's simple. I gained a friend. Lifetime friend.
Oh,
No, I think
no friend as if
no.
emphasizer.
No.
No, I mean like for you, like this is your second season playing with Shaka. Has it changed, or the way you see yourself as a Zulu man?
No,
I'm
I think it's
Zulu man.
It's definitely impacted me, because there's two ways to look at it. There's the way from the inside out, and there's from the outside in. I think for me, it's more from the outside in, because I feel, you know, I evolve, I change as a person. Every time I do play a character, there are elements I do learn. But the bigger impact for me is like the way people react to me. Like in the building that I live in, there's a concierge at the door that welcomes you in and out. They bow now. Like I've stayed there for 3 years. They never used to bow. And I got there, and then all of a sudden it came out and they have that thing, you know. So I find, yeah, I definitely am operating on a level where people do show me a respect akin to what, you know, the king is shown, even though I don't think I am the king. There is a king and the real guy that is out there. But in terms of what the story represents, I think a lot of people do view me like that in the streets. I know, like, a thing that's synonymous with our careers, obviously walking in the streets and people want to take pictures. Now that I can literally see a fear in in people's eyes. I can see that this person inside is dying for a picture, but they have that thing of, hey, I don't know if there were people really buy into that story, but more on the impact this young woman has had. I think, she's an incredible woman, and I've just learned that there's so much talent, and there's this weird kind of energy that happens in the industry where if somebody has a background in modeling, automatically they're like, oh my god, they can't act, whatever. And she, I think, dispels all of those rumors. She's
But
an
but
incredible.
she went to AFDA.
No, she did, but it's one of those weird things. It's like, in this industry, whatever you kind of come out with, people will always box you as that. Like if I came out as a musician first and then I started acting, they're like, oh, Mari, you know what I mean? That time somebody's a phenomenal actor. You know what I mean? Yeah. But what I'm saying is there's always these weird stigmas that come out with, depending on how people first consume you, and I think she definitely dispels all of those myths and proves that you can be a multifaceted person, which is an inspiration to me.
Well, I think for me, obviously, in terms of people bowing down to me, hasn't happened yet. I am only 2 episodes in, guys.
Maybe people are gonna hate you. You never know.
They can't.
Pella, they always say that the downfall to a man is
As a woman. No, but trust me, no. This time around, bazongithanda ukuthi ngidila nenkosi yabo. I think also just for me, because I'm new in the industry, on a personal capacity, I think shooting this production has impacted me in terms of my level of expectations are really, really high. In terms of indlela engiphathwa ngayo, indlela that you take a production seriously, it's like, and I don't know if that's a negative thing or a good thing, because ngathi ngisho as a new face, it's like sometimes once you start having certain expectations, you'd be difficult to work with or something like that. But it's like, but unfortunately, I jumped and I went to such a great production because now that's where my standards are. So I think that alone for me is just like, okay, trying to first figure out, how am I going to maneuver this space now? And hoping that other productions are also taking note in terms of how you have to respect a production, right? There's no way to cheat it. At the end of the day, it's like, as performers, we obviously give you what you give us. So if we're able to then have Leon, yes, people say, but why am I a performer? No, every department is important. Yes, don't get me wrong, everyone is important. But at the end of the day, I think for us who have to tell the story, simultaneously working alongside every other department, let us understand ukuthi sonke sabantu, and so I think in that personal capacity, for him as well, impacting indlela weird. Weird.
how is it weird?
It's so weird, guys. I always told my friends this, right? So when I see Lemo on a personal basis, like, hi dude, how are you? Like, we're peeling, and it's like, yeah, sure. Like, we buddies. When this man puts on his costume, and I'm in mine, way, we in love, wolf. Like. Like, I'm like, what is happening here? So I think it just opened up my third eye in that essence. When you actually tap into a character for real, you don't have to act it, you live it. So he was able to bring that out of me. Because every time I'd see him, I remember there was one scene. I'm gone.
I mean, you're a gun girl.
I'm a gone girl, okay? Like, but I think also then him just being able to bring me back into the real world with a winner. We're still human, we're not living this life, I think is what he did really, really well. But guys, when I tell you, I was actually drooling over him 24/7 when he's in his costume and I'm in my costume. I'm like, Liyana, wherever you are, no corner. Pomagi manje. So I think just opening up my eyes to the spiritual level that I can take myself to as well. I think that impact on its own when it comes to how I believe that I manifested the role on its own. Because I remember in 2022, I went to the Cradle of Humankind, with the Miss SA team, and I think Babi Shutagandwando at that time. So we went and we saw the sets, and because there was only 2 of us from KZN, and I was the one who was really, really pro Zulu, they're like, "Hey, Luyanda, take us to your hometown." I said, "Don't worry, babes, I got you." I was literally walking through. I said, like, "Okay, I was like, "Yes, that is me." Only for me to come back, and the hut is the hut that I spent most of my time with because of, yeah. So I think that alone has just made me a lot more grounded with me, because then you understand I'll be wait at the end of the day, whatever form of faith that you believe in, always do know that I'll be wait and people will obviously start looking at you differently, right? And when you're not able to connect with people because when you say as paramisa futhi inking yaqala lapho, so having to then come back and realize no, in the midst of everything that I'm doing, I need to remember that I'm human as well. Yes, you might see me as because I'm dating Shaka on a show. At the end of the day, Luyanda Zuma and let's talk and let's have a conversation as that. Yes. So constantly having to tap that and put that in the back of my head and just believing myself. I come from a background of modeling. So for the longest time, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to be boxed in as a model because naturally, my walk, model. Literally, there was a scene that I was shooting. Mr. Angst like, Luyanda, I know you model, but just walk like a village girl. What do you mean? And it's like, really? I'm like, yes, sir. He's like, oh, okay. That's how he talks, by the way. I'm like, oh, okay. So, and then having to then just remind myself every day that you are worth being in this space. Because when you look around, 14 plus experience, you're just like, damn, what the hell am I going to do with such phenomenal performers? Because a lot of my scenes are with powerful people within the story. So having to just remind yourself daily that, okay, you are worth it. I think the show did that for me as well, to tell me, girl, you are more than just what you look like. You actually have got talent, because if you can sit through all of those callbacks and you even sitting here, because one thing about Bomo, so like the confirmation of being there and trusting my talent after being told so many times back in the past, I'm just a pretty face because but there was a time when I didn't believe in my own craft, because now I'm modeling and I need to go to school. Certain people would tell me, girl, how are you gonna tap into a character with nails? I'm like, but I was shooting the day before. Yes, it's theater, but it's a rehearsal. So I'm like, no, you're not a real thespian for that. Like, it made me feel like because I'm just a pretty girl who cares about how she looks, forgetting that no, the reason why my hair and my nails are done was because I was shooting an international production, well, not production, but commercial before. So it's not going to happen. So for this production to come back and cast me is a true testament of people always talk, but God knows and your ancestors know what they've put in front of you. So it was just a stamp on my career and my talent, and it really did boost my confidence a lot.
Talking about people always talk. Like, I saw you entered Miss SA again, and and your audition video had people talking.
Oh, girl, that's how I want to drink water.
Why did you decide to enter Miss SA again? And also, how did you deal? Okay, you said you're not on socials a lot, but I'm sure people were telling you how people are reacting to your audition video. Yeah. And also, was the audition video intentional?
Of course. Guys, firstly, I went to AFTA. So as a person who went to AFTA, it should tell you that I'm really passionate about storytelling, right? And that's exactly what that entry video was entailing, right? It told, like, the entry form on its own said that be authentic to who you are. That's me being authentic to who I am. I'm a performer and a model, but most importantly, a storyteller. That's what that whole entry video was all about, right? I'm telling a story, and if that's how I want to bring my story across, because I've got the resources to do so, because I'm in the industry, best believe I'll do it. So the reason why I went back this time around, it just felt right? In the sense that I remember in 2022, I was a young girl who was chasing a dream. Right, I would always wake up and just wish that I would be Miss South Africa. But in 2025, I realized actually I'm a woman who's stepping into a purpose again. Right, I've always been of any form of service to my community. I've always been of any service to my school. So having to then step into the service role, I even have awards for actually, always wanting to help out my community and my school, and realizing now that I've got a platform that allows me to do it on a larger scale and reach as many people as possible. I felt like the time was now. And the alignment within the stars on its own having to come in and, literally wear the title of a queen in real life, because obviously I think you are what you believe you are, and I believe I'm a queen in my own world, but also having to then wear the crown in a superficial world within the books of history, because if I'm dating a king, if it's being shot a queen, you understand? So, and then coming back to realizing the type of impact that 2022 leading up to 2025 did for me. There was a show that I shot, which was Ndalo, and literally, because it was a pageant show, there was one scene when I walked into a room and literally the posters around was just the Miss SA crown. And I was like, oh, wow, the alignment here is real, right? And with the with the form of intentional elements within the entry video, right? Firstly, I'd say 90% loved it and they accepted it because they saw my journey from 2022, because even my very first entry video was different. I didn't stand in front of a wall and say who I am. I stood on a field wearing a white dress because I was coming to South Africa as a pure soul, and everything on there was making sense for me. I was a new face who was coming there as a clean canvas and wanting everyone to then be able to write their stories on me for me to be able to depict and tell them for them. Because if I'm saying I want to be the voice of the voiceless, best believe I need to be able to listen. And then in 2022, I had a clip within within the video, which was then explaining or tapping into the 2022 clip. So it was a shoulder shot that showed myself watching the 2022 entry video to show growth, right? And some people are like, but she's only chasing fame because of the paparazzi. The paparazzi was not the fame. The paparazzi was showing the type of cameras that I'm always facing, right? 1, 2, 3, out, my camera. My camera, understand? And then from there onwards, I need to go and face other cameras. Like there's always just lights, cameras, this and this. It's my life. I'm not chasing fame. It's my life, right? And then some other people are like, but then why is she signing the girl's autograph? But then that's when you don't listen to something that was being said when I was writing. I said, rewriting what it means to be a woman in South Africa. She's a young girl, a little girl. I'm rewriting a story for her to be living a different story as an older woman. I wasn't signing an autograph. There's no time for me to actually sit down and write everything. I had to just show it to which I'm rewriting a story and move on. From what I was wearing traditional beads. I'm a Zulu woman. Everything had to be intentional on the video for the purpose of what I was trying to get out there. And I'm sorry to bring this up, but some people are like, I'm using Tswekwe's name. I'm like, I'm not using Tswekwe's name. Miss South Africa, firstly, that entry video has probably reached over 10 million people on its own. Within those 10 million people, those who did not know her story know her story now because they had to research what that ring meant on there. So why would I not use a platform that's meant to then amplify our grievances as South Africa, amplify our stories as women, amplify our stories as kids, and not use that moment to tell a story that was so pivotal and for people to know that we have a crisis that we're facing. And if I say I stand for child and youth development, best believe I'll use a powerful platform like that to air out and put out anything that has to do with kids, women, or South Africa as a whole. And that was the right time. I was not going to sit in front of my camera and say, guys, justice for Kwekwe. No. It was not going to reach as many people as what that hashtag Miss SA 2025 did. And for me, that was just me actually stepping into my role as Miss South Africa before I'm even Miss South Africa. We've got 4 pillars in Miss South Africa. We've got duty, championship, empowerment, and beauty. And therefore, I stepped into my duty role before I was even given the crown. So that's what that whole video is all about. It was not about the gimmicks, but it was me stepping into who I really am. And if you can't take the fact that I'm a performer and I've got the resources to do so, then it means I'm not for you, and that's okay. But I'll do it close to my heart, and that's telling my story my way. Yeah.
I'm no
choice. And then Lemo, what's next for you? Are we seeing any season 2 of Killer Front Page where you play a dodgy journalist? I have never in my life had to watch something and think, did I make the right choices?
Yeah, I don't think journalists often get portrayed in the light that we did on Killer Front Page. I think journalists are often, just kind of like the cliche. I think the most interesting journalist I've seen on screen is Spider-Man, because he's a superhero. He's a journalist by day, and Clark Kent actually. So there's a few. Anyways, I'm not sure about the season 2 of that.
You guys left us hanging.
It's a multi-choice decision. I'm ready to go.
We are coming back.
Let's shoot now. I can shoot now. Yeah, I think it's definitely, it depends on obviously the business element of how the show did, with the numbers, and if it's something they're interested in doing. And I think more so than that, because it was an Mzansi Magic production, and it played on Sundays. So I think the clash, I can't go from Shaka this Sunday, next week I'm Saul. And then
what's wrong with
that?
It's
going to confuse audiences. They're like, because even on the first one, it's Shaka. So I think it's one of those tough things where they kind of have to weigh it up. But it's not my decision. If it were up to me, I'd do it. What I am busy with right now is recording what I believe to be the most interesting musical album in a long time to come out of South Africa. My friends and I have come together and literally invented a new genre. We were 500 songs deep, and we're just like, every time we play a song, we get like, when you play something with somebody and there's a parallel, they're like, oh, this sounds like Java, this sounds like Casper, this sounds like, and we're just like trying to avoid that. I'm like, I don't want that, because I'm already stepping in from a space where I'm established as a performer on screen. So I don't need parallels drawn between me and people, kind of. I don't want to feel like I'm stepping into somebody's lane. So I challenged my team to create something new, and we've been playing around for about 2 years, and we finally settled on the sound. And it's very, very interesting. Everybody that I've played it for is like, you need to drop this right now. So it's not just me hyping up my own horn. It's literally feedback from people around me, some close. Sometimes I've played it for strangers as well, and the feedback has been remarkably positive. So expect that.
But Lemo, you said when you were shooting Killer Front, I remember.
Yes.
He said he was releasing an album.
Yes, it takes so long. It takes what you need to understand is it's like a Shaka iLembe. We understand that people wanted season 2, and we're like, guys, we can't just, you know what I mean? Like creative work is so like, it's like it uses all the elements. There's a spiritual element, there's an emotional element, there's an intellectual element, there's technical elements, and all of those things have to come together and align. So we have been cooking. I have 400 to 500 songs, but I can't release them because they're not good enough yet. And I really do respect my audiences, and I understand the permanence of this crafts that we're in. Anything in entertainment has this level of permanence, because you can't undo it once it's done. Once I've given it out to the world, I can't take it back and be like, guys, delete it. And so I have an element of being a perfectionist when it comes to that, and I have been working. And this year, I promise you, it's coming. I promise. No more lies. It wasn't lies. It was misinformation.
Okay.
I was like, those people that are in construction, and then they see the bricks. Yeah, 2 weeks, mama. This house. I underestimated the fact that we have to build a foundation and walls and windows and all that stuff, but it's coming.
And then what's your stage name? Are you ngoba phela thina sikwazi ngoshaka?
Yeah, my stage name is Lemo, Lemo. I figured, let me stick to something close to my engine number, ID name, because in every single thing that people consume me in, I have been assigned a name. And I don't want it to feel like another character. I want people to connect with this music and know that it's not an alter ego. It is coming from me. It's coming from my heart, and it's stuff that I do connect with and believe in.
Okay. So we can't wait to see the next coming episodes and see this chemistry that you guys are talking about. And I'm sure you guys at home are also waiting to see. Anyways, thank you guys for joining us. And I really wish you guys the best in your future endeavors. Hope to see you shooting whatever you're dreaming for soon.
I wonder, what are you doing for?
No, to look good, to be healthy. I have a YouTube fitness page.
No, maybe
actually.
he's now
That big
used to, because he seems like a shy guy. Maybe now he's embracing the spotlight and wants to be a...
He's actually so shy. There was what? Hey, can I? I'm gonna. There was one time, just before a scene, right? This one scene. Also, just to go back to your chemistry question, right? I remember when I realized it's yes, this me and this guy are deep with this chemistry thing. There was a really powerful scene that we had to shoot. Before, people were still sitting up, and me and him just locked our foreheads like this, and we were just taking each other's breath, like just trying to get in sync. And I was like, damn, he gets me, he gets me. But then within his shyness, he would always try to step out of it, because he was starting not to flirt, but he was like starting to be a lot more comfortable around me. I remember, I think, so I think just that on its own, I commend you for that. Because so for him to be able to then come back and be able to be that comfortable with us, with me, I hope that actually does show on screen as well, because we really did feel like we were in sync and doing what we had to do.
Yeah, just to add to that, did you feel safe around him? Because there's some actresses who say, "Oh, when doing these, intimate roles, I don't feel safe."
I did. I really did. I think he was, not just him, I think everyone around us as well, just made sure that as females, we don't feel like we're being preyed on, because obviously we're basically not wearing anything. And even when he had to touch me, he would always be really aware and cognizant of the fact that he has to ask me, like, can I touch you here? Can I hold you here? Like, yes, it's fine. But then wahamba maybe like a couple of scenes in, not because he was no longer taking consent, but because of my body language and how we were then,
she said putting
there was no moment where I felt unsafe around him, because even with the times that we had to be really intimate, I think the intimate times would happen naturally, so that sometimes the director, I'd say,
Whoa, cut.
Hey, no, not like that, but like, actually, hey, Manjanina, vele,
Yeah. Okay. Let's wait and see, okay, what people will say about Liyana, because Shaka right now does not take nonsense.
Oh my God.
He's cutting people's ears.
Anything. Cutting them off, cutting their lives.
Angazi imkhonto uyenze njani uyifaka kuphi kwajibhala kwacisha, but apparently yena
Umuntu athule khona la.
athule khona lapho, so he says.
All right, thank you guys for coming. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and follow for more. Thank you so much.